No politics, no spin, just the market from open to close and beyond. Streaming 24/7, any screen, anywhere at schwabnetwork.com.
Welcome back to Fast Market on the Schwab Network. I'm Diane King Hall alongside Kevin Hinks joining over there at the CBO. We've got you covered from exchange to exchange. Time now for our cash tag segment. For that, we want to bring in our next guest, and that is Andy Swan, co-founder of LikeFolio. All right, Andy, you've got fresh data on Oklo. I saw you've got several charts that you're bringing with us and the overall power picture as well. So look, Oklo has done very, very well. I mean, that's like an understatement in its terms of its performance. What does your latest data tell you?
Yeah, the whole world is shifting towards what Oklo does. Nuclear is clearly the future. You know, we've got a situation now where the build out of data centers is starting to almost surpass the build out of corporate offices. So instead of, hosting people, companies are now much more interested in hosting computing power. And it really shows. And with that computing power comes an insatiable need for energy. And so when you look at the political picture, we're now at a point where I think most Americans and a lot of people in the West understand that, power equals wealth creation. And so the political winds have shifted very much in favor of nuclear. This goes across political ideologies. The trend is up and to the right for nuclear power acceptance especially compared to other alternate energy sources. So that's a very big deal. And then Oklo, as a primary player in this is a stock that, we sent out to LikeFolio's members 4 or 5 months ago. It's been a 400% gain since then. And the real driving force is what this company does is exactly what the world needs. The micro nuclear reactors on site to drive data centers in a very safe and scalable way. At least that's the promise of the company going forward. And so, we really just kind of wanted to bring this to the attention of, your audience, especially because the world is shifting in a major way. And it's very rare that you see the entire world moving in one direction and all of the political ideologies becoming supportive of that movement while the technology is beginning to roll out and become effective and realistic. And so this is a major play, a major story that we're going to be watching for the next 2 to 3 years. And, we're basically at the point where the demand for power is insatiable. That's not changing anytime soon. And so we're looking for the winners in those categories. And a lot of them are starting to pop up.
There's been a stigma around nuclear energy for your and my entire lifetime, It seems. But right now, the needs that we have going forward and what Oklo does that differentiates them, it's these SMRs, right? The small modular reactors because let's face it, everyone is starting to turn towards the need for nuclear energy, but no one wants that big reactor near their house. Right? Yeah. But everyone can stomach these smaller, safer, less expensive, easier to build reactors that Oklo's talking about. Andy, is that the sweet spot that you can get into nuclear energy without scaring the children by building some big, massive reactor?
Yeah, I think it is. I think that, there's definitely still some convincing that has to happen and some proof points that has to happen around the safety of these. But, when we looked at the political acceptance of various alternate energy sources, it really struck us that from 2016 to 2024, wind acceptance on the decline, solar acceptance on the decline. And it was especially in the areas where those power supply sources had been installed during those 8 years. All of a sudden now your entire landscape is dominated by windmills that are giant. Now what used to be amber waves of grain are now mirrored solar power surfaces that are just a little harsh on the eye. So I think that there's an aesthetic reason for some of the decline in alternate energy adoption and acceptance that maybe nuclear can overcome by being in these microsites and off where the data centers are, where nobody really has to look at them.
But Andy, there's also one question that, you have to kind of take into consideration is that it's a pre-revenue company, right? They don't have any sales. The first commercial reactor is not expected to start operating until 2027, I believe it is. Or 2028 at the earliest, and so that's one of the challenges. And obviously, I know what investors are looking at is the future, sure, but who's left holding the bag? I'm not asking you who's left holding the bag, but that's the thing you have to kind of keep into consideration with a company like this. So how do you weigh that?
Yeah, I think it's impossible to weigh that. I think the market has clearly kind of crowned Oklo as a winner. And the technology seems really solid. The team seems really solid. Those sorts of things, that's the only way you can value these things out into the future when you're so far away from revenue. I think the main point here, though, is that these opportunities exist in the market. Is Oklo fairly valued right now? I have no idea. Will it probably be very volatile over the next year? Absolutely. But these opportunities exist in the market because of a massive shift in the entire world's thirst and hunger for power, which is only going to grow. It's kind of like the NVIDIA story was 2-3 years ago, where the thirst and hunger for compute and semiconductors was insatiable. Now that's shifting to power, and investors should be looking at alternate ways and some small cap ways that those needs can be filled, because all of the tailwinds are behind you, and all you have to do is find the right company at the right time, and it could be game changing for your portfolio.
That's a good point. I mean, listen, they do have some contracts, obviously, with the government as well. I talked to the CFO a few months ago about, the trajectory for Oklo, and obviously he's a big believer in it, and it looks like investors are as well. Thank you, Andy. We'll leave our conversation there for today. That's Andy Swan, co-founder of LikeFolio. Now, for the trading perspective on all things